Director of the Career Center, and I'm very excited to have you here tonight for our 19th Annual Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Banquet. So we're really proud of the work that's done here, and I want to first and foremost thank all of you, our students, our faculty, our employers, our alumni, and our colleagues with this great work that we are all doing in order to make a difference in equity and inclusion and to bring access to all students in everything that we do. First and foremost, I'd like to honor and thank Brittany Perez, and I also have her, the committee that puts these amazing events together, stand. So we have, within the Career Center, we have a Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. This is extra work that they do because of their dedication and passion to this commitment to equity and inclusion. This is not part of their everyday job. This is what they do extra and above. I'd also like for the Career Center to stand as well to be acknowledged for all of the amazing work that you do each and every day. They are a powerful and mighty team of 12, so that serves the 13,000 students. So we'll thank you very much, and I'm very honored to be here and have the opportunity to speak with you about diversity, equity, and inclusion and how it impacts everything that we do. And for the students, I'm not sure if you're aware of the 8 core competencies that every employer looks for, and they're the NACE competencies. One of them is equity and inclusion. So thank you for being here tonight. 90% of life is just showing up. And you are here tonight to make connections and create experiences. This is just the beginning. We can all spread and make a difference and an impact in bringing us all together and uniting us. We are also honored tonight to have 2 experts in the field that are going to talk about generational diversity, and as well as our honored student who won our spoken word contest. So they are the experts on this, and you are here. I want you also just to take a look at this room. The colleagues, you're all here together for the same reason. And we will make an impact and make a difference one step, one day, one moment at a time. And I'm so honored and privileged to be part of this community. Thank you. And I'm going to turn it over to Brittany.
Thank you so much, Annette. Yeah, I definitely want to just add on. Thank you all so much for being here. It really means a lot, especially according to this topic. So we are all very excited to gather here today based on the theme of generational diversity. And as we come together, we want to celebrate all the unique strengths, experiences, beliefs, values that every generation here brings to the table, whether that is in your professional life, personal life, academic life, all lives. But it's just very important to have these discussions and engage with one another, learn from one another. So understanding and embracing these differences is very important in today's rapidly changing world, especially in the workplace, right? You are working with different people, coming from different generations, learning from one another, and that's what this event is all about. So by recognizing and valuing all these differences and these experiences, we want to foster a truly inclusive environment. So tonight's banquet not only promises our amazing presenters for this evening, but I also invite you to have meaningful connections, meaningful interactions with one another. So there will definitely be 2 networking opportunities. First at your table during the buffet dinner, and then the second one will be open for anyone to network with anyone at this event. So again, thank you all again for being here, and let's enjoy this inspiring evening by kicking off with our first keynote speaker of this event. Huyen. I love the energy. I'm gonna introduce her right now. So Huyen is a Fordham University alumna here. She is from the Gabelli School of Business. She graduated in 2020 as well. with a bachelor in business administration. Huyen was raised in the Bronx and currently resides in New York City today. With a background in marketing, Huyen previously worked at Dow Jones and currently specializes in life cycle retention marketing at Paramount. Her experiences at Fordham date back to when she was a Fordham Career Ambassador at the Career Center, but also a commuter assistant at the Office of Student Involvement, and so much more. So we are very excited to have her here and speak, and I'd like to invite you up.
Hello, okay. Hi everyone. First and foremost, I just would like to thank Mike, Brittany, and her services team for having me today. It is truly such an honor to be able to stand up here and speak to all of you about my personal experiences and professional experiences and how it relates to the topic of generational diversity. I was once a student in your shoes, sitting in the exact same place as you for this banquet, and now I'm here speaking to you, so it's such an honor. So starting off first, when you think of generational diversity, what are the key terms that come to mind? For me, a lot of them include technology, teamwork, empathy, cultural inclusion, open-mindedness, and the list goes on. And of course, we can't forget the generations themselves when it comes to the different ages, and I'm going to talk more about that in the next slide. So first off, I just want to define the different generations that we have by the years. So first off, we have our boomers, or sometimes we refer to them as baby boomers, followed by Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z. I myself identify as a Gen Z, and I can assume that many of you students here as well are part of this Gen Z group, but what does this actually all mean? It's way more than just ages. Each of the generations are characterized by their own characteristics, traditions, beliefs, and way of thinking, and although there may be differences in the way we think, this can possibly sometimes lead to misunderstandings, but at the same time, this leads to opportunities and areas of growth, collaboration, and learning. So now I just want to get a little into my background story and where I come from culturally and educationally and how this has shaped me. I come from immigrant parents who came from Vietnam, who also have a Chinese background, and they immigrated to America. And like many other immigrants, coming over here to a whole new foreign land, facing the challenges of being somewhere where they don't know the language, don't have a job. It was definitely a struggle to build a life for themselves, and they actually ended up, through hard work and dedication, built a life for themselves actually here in the Bronx and Fordham Road. This is where I was raised and grew up, so literally Fordham is my home, and I'm still here to this day, and this has definitely shaped me into who I am, seeing the difficulties they went through, and even in this neighborhood, seeing not many people like me who are Asian Americans who are living in this neighborhood, and that has definitely just seeing their story shape me into the different values that I believe in resilience, determination, and hard work. And with that, I learned something really important from them is to take on every opportunity and appreciate any opportunity that comes your way, no matter how big or small it is. And with that, that led me into my educational background. So at Fordham, personally, when I growing up, I've always been a very creative person, and I've always enjoyed numbers, math. So what did I pursue at Fordham? I went for business admin and concentrated in marketing and info systems. And here, I was able to really just dive into what my passions were. And being from parents who come from the boomers and Gen X generation, they didn't really have the resources like technology. We're so advanced in technology versus my parents who weren't well versed in technology. And also, they didn't really have the resources into the whole corporate landscape. So networking, resume building, they didn't really know about that. I do have an older brother who's 3 years older than me. He's part of this millennium group, and he did help me with this. But really, what really helped me was engaging and looking into the resources that I had in school. Career services, I was a career ambassador, so looking to experienced individuals who were excelling in these careers. So reached out to LinkedIn and really just dive into the different resources that were available to me. So, of course, with this being said, during this time, being the first in my family to go into corporate, and my brother, both of us, we had a lot of uncertainty and expectations put on us as our weight. And what happened, of course, I graduated in 2020 in the year of the pandemic, and and that was a very difficult year for many different reasons. But of course, when it came to jobs, a lot of companies were not hiring, they were going through freezes. A lot of my friends who got job offers ended up getting their job offers rescinded. So that was a very difficult time. And at that time, I was interning for a small education company. I was a social media intern, and I continued to work there part-time, and at that time, I was just applying to jobs and really seeking out my resources, reaching out to career services to see if anybody knew. I could reach out to marketing industry and reach out to people on LinkedIn, and eventually, I actually landed my first big girl job in Dow Jones, and from there, I really learned that it's different with the different generations and how we interact and communicate with one another. So, starting off at Dow Jones, I was a retention associate, and actually, starting off, I had no experience whatsoever in lifecycle retention marketing. And if you don't know what that is, especially if you're signing up for any subscription business, how can I engage you, send you emails, send you mobile push campaigns, call you, whatever it is, and how can I engage and prevent you from canceling, and if you cancel, how do I win you back? And that's essentially what I did. But going into this, I had no experience in it. I only had experience in PR marketing, social media marketing, and digital marketing based on the internships that I had at Fordham. So what did I do? I seek mentorship from people who have many years of experience in the industry, my VPs and my directors. They were in the industry for 10, 15 plus years, and being under their wing has just really taught me a lot of cultural, career, and leadership development skills that I wouldn't have gained otherwise just being a young adult starting off my career. So this was super helpful for me, and I was the youngest one on my team too, so I didn't really have much knowledge into any of this. But my passion has always been for the entertainment space and the media. So eventually, after 1 year at Dow Jones, I landed my job at Paramount Plus, which is where I'm currently at, and I ended up in the media space. So at Paramount Plus, I was an associate manager, and once again, I found myself being the youngest one on my team. I was the only Gen Z, and I worked in a team full of other millennials, Gen X, boomers, and we also collaborate with other teams as well. And because of just these different generations that I work with, I learned that there are different communication styles when it comes to these roles. So with that being said, post-pandemic, we're in a totally different world where things are more flexible, hybrid, and there's different communication styles, and people can communicate either through email, in-person meeting, phone calls, video, or messaging, so Slack, and etc. But when it comes to these, we have to acknowledge, at least from what I've experienced, is that different generations prefer different communication styles. When it comes to senior executive levels and VPs, they prefer to have in-person meetings to foster this community and collaborative environment, whereas I and other peers and coworkers of mine who tend to just go through Zoom and prefer to have this efficiency, and instead of sending an email out, like if you have a quick question, you should send it through Slack instead. And through this, it's just having a flexible work environment. So in a hybrid environment, I'm only in the office 1 day a week. I'm in the office on Wednesdays, and on this day, we have our big meetings where a lot of other team members come in and we collaborate together. And because of this, this really allows us to foster an inclusive environment. Whereas the other days, we would go through Zoom or just messaging apps and all of the other apps that we have as well. So with this, I want to acknowledge that when it comes to the different generations, there are a lot of gaps and differences that we have to acknowledge, and with these gaps, we have to learn how do we embrace it and bridge these gaps. So for me, basically what I've noticed is that when it comes to different areas between the different generations and what do they take interest in, prioritize, the differences I see are career priorities, job loyalty, and retention. So for instance, from what I've seen is older generations tend to prioritize job stability, security, and what I've seen is a lot of VPs, executives, and senior levels have been in companies for 10 to 15 plus years, whereas new graduates have only been in companies for 2 years or 3 years, and they go on to another company and look for growth opportunities and a more flexible work environment. So that's what we typically tend to see between the different generations. I myself am I was the younger generation where I was at Dow Jones for 1 year. I enjoyed my job, but it wasn't what I was passionate in, so I found my way at another company and made my way up from there. So how exactly do we bridge these different gaps that we have in generations? It's through different areas such as mentorship and growth and collaboration. And what I mentioned before is mentorship is a huge aspect. In Fordham, I was part of career services and I seeked out a lot of help from other professionals But even in Fordham now, and I'm sure I think some of you may know about it, is the Fordham Alumni Program, where you get paired up with somebody in the alumni program in the industry that you want to work in. I also was part of that. And even in my current company, as of right now, I'm part of the mentorship program. For the last 2 years, I was paired up with a senior director and an VP, where I've learned leadership skills and career skills, and vice versa. I also taught them my insights that I've learned and bringing in fresh and new innovative ideas. And from this, I'm able to grow from my role as well. And with this helps really foster an environment where every voice is valued and heard, and it helps to create a more inclusive environment. And one piece of advice that I've learned from my elders and from my people with more experience, and what I always take to heart, and I always tell this to other people, is don't be afraid to ask questions. No, you always hear this, no question is a dumb question, and it's honestly very true. And learn to speak up for yourself. If you have anything you want to answer, just ask away, and don't be afraid to ask for what you want, whether it be negotiation when it comes to salary, compensation packages. I'll give you an example. When I first got out of college and I got my first job at Dow Jones, I was a little afraid to negotiate my salary, but I got encouragement from my brother. He was like, just go for it. The worst they can always say is just no, and that's it. And it's honestly true. And what ended up happening, I negotiated and I actually landed the salary that I wanted. So that was really great there. So in general, what I'm trying to say is ask for what you want, and the worst they can always say is no, and be able to speak up for yourself and know your value. Do not undersell yourself when it comes to your career, but also your personal development as well. And another area that we can bridge this gap is through team building and work-life balance. So as I mentioned before, right now in the post-pandemic world, we live in a society where everything is flexible. There are remote jobs, hybrid jobs, and sometimes a few people I know go to the office 5 days a week, but that's kind of more rare now. I typically see 2 to 3 days in office and the other days remote. And this is a really great way because it helps foster more inclusivity. And what I mean by that is everyone is in different stages of their life. Whether you're married, with kids, have pets, there's different responsibilities that you need. And because of this hybrid work environment, you're at home and you're allowed to do these things. Today, I was supposed to be in office. I go to the office on Wednesdays, but I told my manager, hey, I have this event to go to. Can I just work from home? And she allowed it. So it's really nice to see how you can help foster just a better and more inclusive environment between different groups by allowing to have a more flexible work schedule, but also when it comes to team building, how can you bond with other people within your teams and your groups? So it's learning to reach out to these people and work together. So in team building, for example, within my company, we typically have team lunches together when we're in office on Wednesdays, or we'll participate in volunteer activities together. And even for team building in Fordham, this is a huge thing, I would say. Use your resources to your advantage. You have so many people out there who graduate from Fordham and are in the industry that you want to be in, so reach out to them on LinkedIn or just email them and be like, hey, I want to learn more about what you're doing, and I'm positive that they'll be more than happy to reach out and teach you about what they know and talk about their experiences as well. So with this being said, everything I've talked about, for me, what is exactly is generational diversity to me? It's much more than just age and the different groups that come along with it. It encompasses a whole variety of things, and it's much more complex than that. It's about learning to embrace a melting pot of diverse values, experiences, perspectives, and knowledge among these different generations. And with this being said, these different areas, it's also affected by the cultural and social economic backgrounds that you came from. As I mentioned before, I grew up and came up from immigrant parents who came from Asia who had nothing. So that instilled in me different values that my other peers may have differently and think otherwise. So people may have different values and beliefs, but it's about embracing all these differences and learning to adapt and be flexible. It's not necessarily making and forcing changes and changing what has already been set in tradition, more so kind of enhancing and making things better if it can, whether it be through technology, through the way you do things, and the way that you think about different things as well. So this is a question that a lot of people will get asked, and no matter where you are in your career, early in your career, late in your career, you always get asked the question, where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? I get asked this question all the time, and this is just a little roadmap of where I've been post-college till now. And I'm gonna say honestly, I don't have the answer for that. And I just wanna emphasize and give a little advice to you as well. It's okay to know where you're gonna be, or it's okay to not have a job as well. Don't freak out. I was in the same position. Of course, graduating from the pandemic, it was a very tough time. I've had friends who got laid off from their jobs. And I'm gonna be honest, a month ago, I actually thought I was gonna lose my job. My company was going through massive layoffs, but thank goodness I still have my job and I wasn't impacted. But with that, I also took it as a learning opportunity. Face challenges and don't be afraid to take risks. If this doesn't work out for me, something else will. And of course, with like the younger generations, what we tend to see is when you go around from different jobs, one to the next, you're trying to see where do they value you the most and where can you apply your skill sets and your different characteristics and your strong assets the most. And with that, I just want to say that throughout my journey, I've learned so much. And the key things I want to say is to always just ask questions and seek mentorship and always embrace different changes that come along the way. No change is bad. And with that, that's how we can create a more inclusive environment to promote generational diversity as well.
Can we give another hand for Huyen, please? Thank you so much, Huyen. So next, I would like to invite up Robert Parmach and Imam Ammar for the invocation and Bismillah before we speak.
Good evening. St. Ignatius of Loyola teaches us to find God in all things, to live with a discerning heart, and to become who we're called to be. And now we pray. With care and gratitude for all the gifts that God bestows upon us. The gift of family, who nourish body and character, especially when we mess up and need a little nudge of encouragement to blossom. The gift of Jesuit education, one that nourishes critical minds, friendships, and Fordham's sacred mission of transforming one soul at a time. The gift of benefactors and Fordham's Career Center, who embody core personalis. Development of the whole person, head, heart, and hands. Forming global leaders who live out their education in service to others. The gift of Fordham's partners in global diversity and inclusion, who teach our students the winning combo of career development and ethical living. May we use all of God's gifts to find employment that's marked by purpose and value. Work that celebrates the beauty and hope of diversity. As Jesuit educated for the world, one soul at a time. For this we pray, now and forever. Amen.
I will begin with the recitation of a verse from the Holy Quran, chapter 49, verse 13. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God talks to us about the purpose of creating us in different shades of colors, tribes, and ethnicity and backgrounds. And then he answers the question that a lot of people struggle with. Some people take it the far end, treat others as less. Some people take it to the far other side to think of themselves as better. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم إن الله عليم خبير. صدق الله العظيم. The Quran teaches us in this verse, God says, O mankind, we have created you from male and female, and we made you into nations and tribes, so that you may know one another. And the best amongst you are those who are more conscious. O Allah, we begin in gratitude, thanking you for bringing us together here at Fordham University, united in a shared purpose. We thank you for the opportunity to celebrate diversity, foster equity, and build inclusive connections that strengthen our community. O Allah, guide us as we gather to learn from one another, connect meaningfully, and honor the unique contributions that each person brings. Help us to see beyond backgrounds and experiences, fostering bonds that reflect fairness, respect, and collaboration. Grant us the courage to pursue new paths and the wisdom to uplift one another as we navigate opportunities. May this evening of connection inspire us to build a community that values every voice and empowers us to work towards a more inclusive future. Bless these interactions, O Allah, that they lead to understanding, growth, and lasting positive impact. Amen.
Thank you both so much. Can we give another hand, please? Okay. So before we start calling up tables to the back for the buffet, I want to talk a little bit about this first networking session. So again, students, please get to know one another. Get to know which employer is at your table. What do they have to offer? What are some DEI initiatives that they implement in the workplace? But also get to know them on different levels. What does generational diversity means to them? What does it mean to you? And I definitely also want to encourage you to engage with our lovely student leaders at each of your table that represent different committees here, different cultural clubs here. So yes. So now we can definitely begin to feast. Hello everyone. There's all the great conversations going on. Yeah. Well, I'd like to move on to our next segment of this event, which will be a spoken word. So for all of you to know, we had a spoken word competition go out throughout the semester, and we have selected our winner for this event to present. Deborah Adenbanjo. Deborah is a current junior here at Fordham University, Girls Go, and she is on the pre-launch track majoring in political science and minoring in philosophy. Deborah is a Nigerian immigrant and a first-generation out-of-state college student from Boston, Massachusetts. She is the youngest of 3 siblings. She is extremely passionate about advocacy, law, and social justice. She is currently an intern for the Attorney General of New York State and an ideal undergrad fellow for Fordham University School of Law. Please join me in welcoming Deborah to the stage.
Thank you for having me today. Hi everyone, my name is Deborah, as I was just introduced. I'm here to perform my spoken word piece titled Broken Backs, Bare Hands, Bountiful Hope. First generation immigrant Black women. I don't mean to sound cliche, like how someone starts up their college admissions diversity essay. Those fragments of my identity that interplay and intersect. My motivation, my drive, those fragments of my identity are what comes into play when I get off on Bolton Street, walk up those gray concrete stairs, and swipe into the marble walled building to start the day at my internship. Envisioning a future where I'm no longer just an intern for the New York State Attorney General, but an actual woman working in law. Envisioning a future where I'm no longer, becoming the dream of my moms, my dads, and ancestors that came into fruition from their broken backs, their hands, with bountiful hope to give me a future they couldn't have. Those fragments of my identity are paving the path for future generations. Yes, I am also breaking generational curses in my lineage. I don't mention being a first generation immigrant lightly, because I realized I was my own advocate, my own client, zealously advocating for myself when I struggled to apply to college because my mom couldn't help me with the process. All those moments when I have a million responsibilities and assignments in college, but I have to be the 911 for my family and the interpreter for my mom. Till this day, my family doesn't understand my educational journey. Sure, they'll be at my college graduation laughing and smiling and taking pictures, but they won't know how hard it was for me to sustain and attain my degree. Or why it was hard to get an internship. They won't know. And those fragments of my identity are why I asked my internship supervisor, with a hint of imposter syndrome in my tone, and I have to admit, why did you choose me? He affirmed, your qualifications, your interview, you were the one. He implied that he saw his younger self in me, that unspoken generational bond. This served as a reminder to me as part of why I have to, no, I must make it. Despite the challenges I may face due to the fragments of my identity, I deserve my wins. Those fragments of my identity are why I'm reminded to pay it forward when I'm speaking to Wilhelmina, my elderly coworker. She has years of experience, wisdom, and knowledge that has taught me so much. I always tell her how much I like her name, much to her appreciation. One day, just like her, in my older years in the workforce, I'll be helping any new nervous intern scared of messing up and wanting to secure a return offer. I'll be reminiscent about those moments when I laughed about work, life, and current events with Roberto, the only other coworker who's near my age. When I'm drawn back to the present, back to the office, back to my desk, I'm also aware that it's not all sunshine and rainbows. There's moments when I make mistakes that's pointed out to me by my other supervisor. While those moments feel like the end of the world, I see her critiques and seniority as statutes codified in the law, my personal constitution. But I also remind myself to make amendments by learning from and fixing my mistakes until she approves. Between Roberto, Wilhelmina, and my other supervisor, Roxanne, it's a nice balance of youthfulness, wisdom, and challenges that help me grow professionally and personally. Yeah, Those fragments of my identity, my experiences, my heritage are shards of broken glass plastered and woven together, creating a mosaic of strength, resilience, and confidence. From experiences with family, life, and work interlinked from the strings of generational diversity of the past, the present, and generations to come. Thank you.
So our next guest is probably best well known for having mentored our very own Michael Perez. And I'm wondering if you had anything to do with him waddling up and down the halls dressed as a penguin.
I can't claim.
Well, we're very, very pleased to welcome a dynamic visionary who drives initiatives to support the student body at Harvard Law School. He heads the office that's responsible for creating enriching student programming, helping prepare students for the bar application process, connecting students to resources across Harvard Law School and Harvard University, mentoring individual students, and overseeing events like orientation and commencement. A licensed attorney, Stephen began his career in big law before moving to roles in insurance, technology, and financial services. He was born and raised in Metro Detroit. He holds a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science and a Master of Public Policy from the University of Michigan, and his Juris Doctor is from Harvard Law School. He's a proponent of civil rights and social action, economic empowerment, animal welfare, and much more. Please help me in welcoming Dean Stephen L. Ball.
Thank you so much for that warm introduction, Jerry. And I'm laughing at this picture because I do own ties that aren't just orange. That photo was me like 50 pounds or so ago. So, can we get one more hand for Deborah? Okay, now you can actually hear me. Oh, that's much better. Okay. So it's intimidating to follow such great speakers and try to think of some pearls of wisdom that you haven't shared, because a lot of what I was thinking, you kind of wove into what you said. So I think that I'll start by just sharing a little bit about me, and then in my journey, and then also the way that I think about generational diversity, what it's meant to me in my career, and then I'll leave you with, like you all did, kind of a hopeful plea for you to also apply it in your careers and your lives going forward. So as Jerry said, I would not be here without generational diversity. So when I was working at a big law firm, this was about 10 years or so ago, I was devoting all my time to that. Everything was devoted to billing hours and hitting your hourly goals for the year. And so I was really kind of living a pretty one-dimensional life. And I thought to myself, you know, Steve, if you get hit by a bus today or something unfortunate happens, like what kind of legacy would you really have left? Would anyone remember that you were here? Would anyone remember what you did? Did you impact the world in any meaningful way? And so the answer was no, really, at that time, at least in my view. And I discovered this mentor program. I lived in Mount Vernon, New York at the time, and there was a local mentoring program that connected you with high school students. And Michael was my first mentee, and I remember that was quite a journey, Michael. I won't embarrass you with stories about that, but it was really one of the most rewarding things that I've ever done in my life. And I thank Michael for giving me that opportunity all those years ago, and I'm so proud to see the guy that you are and the impact that you're making here today. So I have to give a listening to everyone talk, I realized that even from the earliest start, for me, so much of my life has really been about generational diversity. You gave that great overview of all the different generations. It's weird to see yourself like not at the lowest generation anymore, but that's what happens with age, whatever. But so I'm the youngest of three. My parents had me when they were almost 40 years old, and I have siblings that are 15 years older and 11 years older. So I'm probably millennial. My siblings are Gen X. Any millennials? Yeah. No? Okay, yeah, that's all millennials. Okay, so I'm probably millennial. My older siblings are Gen X, and my parents are baby boomers. And then their parents were, gosh, I had one grandfather that was born in 1906. He passed away a long time ago, and I had another grandfather that I think was born in 1918. So you just think about all the generations in one family, and to your point, Huyen, all the different perspectives and experiences and ways of looking at the world. So as I was growing up, I was living life through the prism of millennial, but then I had my older siblings with their Gen X views, and then the baby boomers. So I just think back on that and all the different ways that it shaped me, and the ways that we were able to be kind of harmonious with our generational differences, but there were also clashes sometimes as well. And when I look back on my career and some of the struggles that I had, particularly early on, a lot of it was due to kind of tension around generational diversity. Things like what you said. So I remember when I started out working at a law firm, it was kind of my I'm a first generation college student, so I didn't have any lawyers in the family, didn't have anyone that I could really draw on that was close to me with that. But I remember showing up, and we did everything over email. I had grown up with like instant messenger and all that. And I remember being in the workplace and sending an email and thinking, okay, I sent the email telling this other partner, attorney, this is what is needed, and just thinking, okay, when you fire off the email, like that's it, it's done, you can move on. And I quickly, well not so quickly, over time, I learned the hard way that that's not exactly how it works. So, as you said, the generation that came before me, sometimes email's not enough. You have to follow up, you have to do the in-person, you have to kind of balance these different methods of communication. But me, kind of at the time, stuck in kind of my millennial prism, and not being someone that had really been exposed to that environment, I didn't realize that, and so I had struggles. And so I look back on that as one time where generational diversity kind of taught me a lesson about how I needed to communicate better. But getting back to kind of my journey. So again, first generation college student, born and raised in Metro Detroit. Do we have any Michiganders here? No? No? Any Midwesterners? No? Yeah, let's go. Okay. There's at least one of us. So I grew up writing in my journal in middle school that my dream was to someday go to Harvard Law School and move to New York City. It was like 7th grade, and I kept a journal all from 6th grade through the end of high school. Any journalists here? No? Okay, all right. So I remember writing that and dreaming that, and really, at the time, I had no true sense of what New York was. I hadn't been here, I hadn't visited or anything like that. But to me, it epitomized the best and excellence. You don't have that for college, so that's wonderful that you have that. But I remember writing about that, and then over time, keeping that dream in my mind every step of the way that I went. So even when I got to high school, for example, I had struggles transitioning to a new school, and when I got to college, my first semester was a little rough. Always keeping that in mind, and also always trying to seek advice where I could from people typically from older generations that could help me along the way. And so for me, while I did have that struggle that I told you about earlier on in my career, kind of adapting to the generation differences, I've also tried to proactively seek out advice and seek out mentoring so I can use the lessons from those who came before me to help me in my journey. And that's what helped get me through college in a good way. That's what helped get me through law school in a good way. That's what's helped me in my career thus far, whether it was starting out at a law firm and then going in-house and working in financial services. And it's also something that's helped me now at HLS, where I find myself, not so much like the younger person anymore, but more so in a position to mentor and guide our students. And so I've been intentional in the team that we built in our office to have multiple generations. So we have millennials like me, we have Gen Z, we even have a baby boomer, because I think it's important for our students to interact with people from all different generations, because the reality is that's what they're going to encounter in the workplace. So I think we need to prepare them for that as they navigate law school. And so one other thing I'll say about that is that, it's not just about kind of thinking about what's best for me and sort of my advancement, but I bring it back to Michael. It's more so thinking about those who come behind me and follow. And so generational diversity, that's really what I do every day, making sure that our students that are encountering all these different challenges, just like you all are here. I know we had a lot going on in the spring and in the fall last year. I'm sure you all had similar things here too. But making sure that as they encounter those difficulties, they do it with wisdom. They do it with people who had lived experience, who had ups and downs, and who learned from them, and hopefully can impart that wisdom to people coming behind them, so that they don't experience the same missteps and pitfalls. Sometimes people have to learn the hard way no matter what, but we try to avoid that when we can. So at every step of the way in my career, I've always tried to do that. I've always found myself loving to work with students, even when I worked in corporate America. I, on my own kind of volition, just created different initiatives to support students, and so that's ultimately what led me back to Harvard. And I want to say, I know we have others to follow, but I want to say, I think the common thread in generational diversity is really about empathy, right? It's empathy, understanding that we are all somewhere on the human spectrum, right? We're somewhere in that graph that you had. I think there's even one generation that wasn't there that's older than the baby boomers. I think they're called the silent generation. But we're all somewhere in that spectrum. And if God blesses us, we'll all gradually move from one end of the spectrum to the other someday. So recognizing that and recognizing that that's a common experience that binds not just us who are here now, but also all humans that have ever existed, I think it gives us a little more humility, but it also gives us the empathy to say, hey, someday you're going to be standing here in front of a room of strangers talking about, your experience. So helping you to get there. And then also for me, looking at people who come before me and trying to understand their lessons, their triumphs, their challenges, everyone has it, and learning all that I can from them. And not being dismissive in a way that I think people can, on both sides of the spectrum, can be. Those of us millennials, we can sometimes, we can scoff at Gen Z and, some of their stuff. I'm sure Gen Z scoffs at us a little bit. I know that Gen X scoffs at millennials. I know baby boomers scoff at everyone. But just realizing that I think in time, all of us will probably do a little bit of that as we move through the spectrum of life. But maintaining that empathy, understanding that, hey, at years in the past, my parents were where I am now, and God willing, I hope to someday be where they are with God blesses me to live as long as they have. So I just would say as well, two pleas that I would make to you. One selfishly, one more altruistically. So one, any aspiring lawyers here? Okay. So I want you to keep dreaming big in pursuit of law school. I would be remiss being at a DE&I focused event and not acknowledging what we have seen in legal higher education this year as a result of changes in the Supreme Court last year. And disclaimer, I say this as Stephen Ball, individually, not on behalf of Harvard Law School. But I would be doing a disservice, and it would be inauthentic for me not to acknowledge the difficulties that we've seen across higher ed in terms of diversity as a result of what happened at the Supreme Court this past year. So for those that are aspiring lawyers, I just want to encourage you to continue in your journey. Maybe you wrote someday that you want to go to a particular law school, keep that in your mind and keep working towards that, and don't be deterred in your pursuit of that. And hopefully it lands some of you at Harvard. I'd love to see you. So that's my, I gotta do, it's a little selfish plug. And the other thing I would say is, regardless of whether you're interested in law or another career, whatever it may be, I would just encourage you to adopt the mantra that I think all of us that have spoken tonight have adopted, and that I know the Career Center espouses as well, which is just taking time to pay it forward. Remembering that someone sacrificed to put you where you are today, and in that vein, you should also sacrifice your time to pay it forward for those who follow. So I thank you all for listening. It's been such a pleasure to see all of you. I love this event. I was telling Michael, I better not spend too much time here at Fordham because I can get used to here. It's not recorded, right? But thank you all, and just appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's have one more round of applause for Dean Ball. And I'd be remiss if I did not ask everybody to give a round of applause to Brittany Perez, who made this possible and made this happen tonight. I know she has a committee, but I can vouch that the committee did very little. And I also want to thank the Career Center team who's all here to support Brittany and all of you, and our fearless leader, Annette, who's wonderful and makes this all happen. Now we're going to go into the networking portion of our evening again, and there will be closing remarks from Brittany, but we want you to take an opportunity to meet and discuss careers, new skills, grow your network. So please connect with each other on LinkedIn, share contact information, and if you haven't already, create a user profile on Ram Connect. It's ramconnect.fordham.edu, and that's a secure platform for everybody to meet and exchange communications. And I'm just going to close this portion by giving you a question to ask. I know it might be hard to go up to people who you don't know and start a conversation. So keep in your mind this question. What do you love the most about blank? And that blank can be, what do you love the most about our last speaker? What do you love the most about the event decor or the food? What do you love the most about Fordham's Rose Hill campus? What do you love the most about your job? What do you love the most about your major? Things of that nature. So begin networking, enjoy the evening, and what do you love the most about life?
Hello, everyone. Oh man, it is really heartwarming to see this entire event play through such a huge success. As we close this wonderful evening, I just want to take the time to reflect and thank everyone who's involved in this. First, the Equity and Inclusion Committee, Jerry and Michael, I could not have done this without you. Thank you so much. My entire Fordham Career Center team, you all are amazing, from staff, student workers, Fordham Career Ambassadors, Humanities Student Ambassadors. I'm pretty sure we have a lot more people on this team because you all are amazing. Thank you as well to Annette, our fearless leader, for leading us every day to commit to our goals and to serve you all. Thank you also, and especially to our employers here tonight, for speaking to our students, for engaging in this process. Thank you to our signature partners as well. And also thank you to, most importantly, to our Fordham student leaders for leading the discussions throughout the event. Thank you again for that. Thank you, there's a lot of thank yous coming. Thank you as well to our Fordham admin who represent different offices here as well. And most importantly, I cannot say this without so much gratitude. Thank you to Ammar for setting up this event, the food and everything was beautiful, and to OSI for the space, because without them, we would not have this space, so please thank OSI as well. And lastly, most importantly, thank you to all of our speakers for this event, for again, increasing discussions based on this theme of generational diversity. For you all being here, this is just the start of this discussion, so please continue it and just value this event and carry it forward, pay it forward. Thank you all.